In this video, we've got a big update for you on the multi-day severe weather outbreak that's impacting the Midwest, the Southeast, and the East Coast. We've got a lot of updates in this video as things are still uptrending, especially in the Deep South. Before we get into this, go down below and hit that subscribe button. It supports the channel. But let's get right into it. Looking at the day 2 convective outlook. So this is for tomorrow on Friday. You could see we have a moderate risk for severe thunderstorms. This was upgraded to that moderate threat for wind. However, there's also a big chance for tornadoes for Friday. This is going to be a line of storms for the most part from Iowa to Missouri going into Illinois. However, we are going to have an area of potential supercells down here if they can form, which would have that higher chance for tornadoes. But we are going to have that huge wind threat over here, which could be talking in upwards of 80-mile-per-hour winds in some more organized parts of the line. The whole line of the storms isn't going to have 80-mile-per-hour winds, but there are going to be some organized parts of the line that may produce bow echoes, and that will produce most of the extreme damaging winds. But just the moderate risk is including 6.5 million people. The enhanced area is including 10.5 million people, and the slight risk is including 28 million people. So a lot of people are being affected by this severe weather outbreak. You can see the tornado risk here is a very wide 10% risk, hatched risk. So 10% chance is a 10% chance of tornadoes within a 25 miles of a point, but you have that hatched on it. So that means EF2 plus tornadoes are possible in that area. And that moderate risk was in place for wind, a 45% chance for those damaging winds. That's the 45% chance is a probability for damaging thunderstorm winds or wind gusts of 50 knots or greater within 25 miles of a point, which is 58 miles per hour. And then we have that hatched area, so that's a 10% or greater probability of wind gusts 65 knots or greater, so that's about 70 miles per hour within 25 miles of a point. And that is a very wide area where we could see some very damaging wind gusts from these storms. And surprise, we have a hail threat here in early March this far north from some cold air aloft. The more north you go, the more cold air aloft you're going to see, so the higher chance you're going to see hail from these storms. But again, significant hail is going to be possible, not the main threat. The main threat is going to be those damaging winds and potential tornadoes with embedded tornadoes possible within that line of storms. And if supercells form, they could definitely produce tornadoes down here on Friday. Now, looking at the day 3 threat, which is Saturday, this is the main threat everyone's talking about. They have upgraded this to a moderate risk as expected. And this goes throughout Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. A very large moderate risk once again for severe thunderstorms. We don't have those individual tornado, wind, and hail risks out yet. But we do have a probabilistic outlook. Again, this threat goes far northward into Lake Erie, where you could see those severe thunderstorms. However, that main severe threat, where the worst of the worst is going to be in this moderate threat and extending a little bit out to the enhanced threat as well. This is once again where you're seeing a 45% chance for significant severe weather, and that hatch is also including most of the 30% risk area for significant severe weather across that general area. So if you live in these areas, the moderate, the enhanced, you need to get prepared now. Because these storms could be the most violent of the year in Dixie Alley. This area has seen numerous outbreaks, so I'm sure you know the drill from previous years. But again, with every outbreak, you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. So just stay prepared, have those tornado plans in place, because these storms are going to be moving pretty fast, potentially in upwards of 75 miles per hour. So you're going to have to get into shelter quick if you get a warning issued, because those tornadoes could be developing fast as well. Now, looking at the future radar for Friday, we don't have much future radar yet for Saturday, just FYI. But for Friday, these storms are going to begin developing about 5 p.m. Central across Iowa, across Missouri. This is going to become a line pretty far eastward, pretty much in the middle of Missouri there. They're going to be firing up. And immediately becoming a line of storms. This is going to become a more major wind threat once it kind of gets to the line of Illinois. And the further you go northward with these storms, you can't really see it here, but the further northward you go with these storms, they're going to start kind of breaking up because there's not as much moisture and energy up there. So that's going to be still bring gusty winds up here to areas like Minnesota. But that main area for damaging winds is going to extend way down here and go straight eastward, causing those power outages, causing those tree damage, other things that are vulnerable to wind might come down. And these little black things, these are helicity tracks. So these are showing potential rotating updrafts within the storm, and it's looking like quite a bit of as you go throughout the night. This is going to be about 9 p.m. of when it's starting to enter Illinois here, and we're still not seeing much down here where that main tornado threat is going to be for Friday. But this is going to be kind of this could either be an organized line or this could be a messy line. Either way, we're still going to be seeing those damaging wind gusts. But the more organized it is, the more damaging gusts you're going to see. As you can see, looking at it right now, it's not looking that organized as you head into more of Illinois. But you're going to see some supercells that may kind of break off of the line, might produce tornadoes throughout the late night hours, and then it just kind of becomes kind of a messy, clustered line of thunderstorms. That wind threat's going to decrease as you head throughout 1 a.m. and just kind of speed off east to Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. You're going to see a rainy night for those areas. But again, those black lines is, again, potential for rotating updrafts. This is not exactly what you're going to see on Friday. But again, we might see a little tornado outbreak, or we might mainly see winds. So make sure you're prepared for anything for Friday's severe threat if you're going to be impacted by that. Now, looking further south for Friday's threat, we are going to have some big time tornado ingredients into place. However, if we look at surface-based cape and cap, you can see these more brighter colors. This is where not much cap is going to be. As we had throughout the night, as you can see on future radar, you saw not many storms developing down here, and that's because of the cap in the area. Now, there's not a ton of cap, but there's just enough that it may not cause storms to develop down here. But if there are going to be storms developing, they could definitely be dangerous if they are supercells, which again, some of the ingredients are going to be there for tornadoes on Friday. But there's going to be a thing called cap. There's not much cap up north, but there's going to be cap down here, which is going to prevent some storms from developing with those ingredients. And coming to Saturday, this is the HRRR model. So we're finally getting some high resolution data for Saturday. But look at this, actually. The HRRR model already has some supercells developing overnight on Saturday with some of those helicity swaths, which is really interesting if we have a couple of supercells down here in the very, very early morning hours of Saturday. And we're also going to have a lot of convection over here across Mississippi and Alabama. Of course, not a lot of tornado ingredients is going to be down here at 3 a.m. on Saturday, but that is interesting as we do get a lot of rain across these northern areas for the early morning hours of Saturday, which is not going to give a lot of time for daytime heating. It looks pretty clear down here where the main tornado threat is, but there's going to be quite a bit of morning convection, which is going to be very questionable. You're going to see kind of a cluster of storms developing around 9 a.m. on Saturday across Mississippi, and then once you get to about, let's say, 11 a.m., you're going to start to see some supercells begin to pop off around 11 a.m. And of course, that will be your main threat for tornadoes as those head east northeast very fast. This is going to be 12 p.m. and this is as far as we can go with this model is to 12 p.m. Saturday. But again, you're going to see these are kind of close together. There's also a lot of tracks over here, a lot of rotating updrafts within some of those clusters, and those could also produce tornadoes embedded in there, and those will be more high precipitation tornadoes. These actually might be more dangerous than these supercells down here with those clusters of storms, as those could pop off way more quickly than those supercells down there, and overall be extra dangerous across central and northern Mississippi. Looking at significant tornado parameters, we looked at this yesterday and we saw 8 to 9s. And today on this high resolution model, as you can see, we are maxing out now with 10 values in here. So this is as much tornado ingredients as you can get down here in Dixie Alley. So very, very dangerous. If these storms produce tornadoes, they are going to be violent and long track, especially with that low level jet that we're seeing. And I mean, a ton of cape. There's HRR is not showing really any cap at all for Saturday. You are reaching an upwards of 3,000 joules per kilogram, which is just kind of insane down here in March. So a ton of energy that's going to be fueling these storms, a ton of moisture. Looking at dew point temps, I mean, it is just as moist as you can get in March. You're seeing 70 dew points down here, which will just fuel those storms a ton. You will definitely be feeling that humidity down there for Saturday morning. But again, that morning convection is going to be a little questionable to see what it does to this potential tornado outbreak that we're going to be seeing. Now, looking at average cloud cover here, the cloud cover model. So this is going to be the morning of Saturday. All these whites are clouds near 100%. The more white you get on this model, the more clouds you're going to see. For the morning of Saturday, as the sun comes up, there is going to be a ton of cloud cover over the region, especially across central Mississippi, northern Alabama is going to see a ton of cloud cover down here as well. You're going to see a lot of morning convection, which is again going to be questionable because if it doesn't get enough daytime heating, there's not going to be a ton of energy for these storms to pick off on. So that's going to be a main worry. That's going to be the main concern for the storm's development. You do see a little clearing out here near 11 a.m. But these storms are already developing down here. So we're just going to see what happens. We'll see the models tomorrow. In tomorrow's video, we'll have more updates and more detailed outlooks on Saturday, one day before the event. Make sure you get those plans in place. Make sure you know where you're going to go if there's a tornado in these areas. You need to get there fast because these storms are going to be moving really fast. Have multiple ways to get those tornado warnings on your phone. Don't rely on outdoor tornado sirens. Try to get a NOAA weather radio if you can. Make sure to hit that like button down below. Hit the subscribe button as well. It supports the channel. Share this video with anyone that might need this information. And leave a comment down below with any questions. I'll be sure to answer them down below. But as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.